On county maps, this strip of timber is labeled Restricted Watershed, a bureaucratic shrug at a place few remember. Locals speak in lowered tones about stone shapes buried in green, older than any cabin or trail cut. We came with permits, spare batteries, and a plan to keep moving. The forest met us with a windless hush that made the gravel road sound like a trespass. There was no trailhead, only alder thickets and a narrow seam where ferns bent away, as if something had passed through yesterday and again a century ago. Our guide refused to cross the ditch, muttering that compasses die here. We switched on our mics and stepped into scentless shade. The air carried a pressure, like a storm with no sky. First sign of the Untouched was a staircase, 3 low risers of basalt, swallowed by moss yet sharply edged. The stones were cut too straight for chance, yet no chisel scars survived, no tool marks we could name. Each step hummed in my calves, a subsonic insistence. We recorded a tone, faint but steady, somewhere between breath and wire. Bird calls arrived in measured intervals, clockwork perfect, repeating without variation like a broken ringtone adrift among trees. I snapped a clap for sync, and the echo returned before my hands met, a rude joke from the canopy. Our cinematographer laughed, then stifled it. The laugh fed back to us, the same grin, 20 paces ahead. Global positioning system pinned us to the middle of salt water 40 miles away, our dot adrift in a digital gulf. The compass needle spun, then paused on north, then trembled like a trapped fly. We decided to mark our path the old way, ribbons and chalk on bark. Minutes later, our marks looked older than us. We found a wall without an interior, a length of black stone ribbed like a spine, curved gently around an oak that had never known fire. The wall cast shade colder than the understory, shade that felt like a substance, thicker than air. Camera color balanced toward blue on its own. Our voices softened, as if entering a museum with teeth. The first doorway appeared not as an opening but as a mistake in the forest, a wedge of dark that swallowed leaf shine and returned nothing. No lintel, no threshold, just 2 pillars of fused rock that leaned the wrong way, inward at the base. We threw a pine cone through. It did not land, it did not sound. Names etched the pillars in a script that looked almost familiar, the way a dream reassembles letters you half remember from school. We traced curls and hooks, and they shifted under our fingertips like cold fish, spelling different shapes in the corner of the eye. The linguist on our line went quiet. He later deleted his notes without comment. Half a mile in, the canopy became a ceiling, leaves pressed so tightly that noon turned pewter, a poured metal light. Temperature fell, but our breath made no mist, a mismatch the body notices before the mind. We filmed a dolly along a route like a fallen cable. The audio picked up whispering in a language my mouth almost knew. At a stone bowl choked with needles, rain pattered without clouds, a dry percussion like footsteps too light to be human. We held out our hands, felt nothing, watched ripples tremble anyway. The bowl had a lip worn smooth, as if water had once spun here to grind something soft. The grinding moved on without weeping or weight. We called for any record of excavation, for any deed that mentioned foundations, and got only static, like a waterfall made from bees. Then a voice cut through, older than anyone in our Rolodex, saying do not change your mind, the path changes first. We froze, every boot anchored by dread. The call log saved no number. A deer watched us from the ridge, but its legs bent as if jointed twice, like a draftsman got impatient and drew options on the same page. It blinked both eyes, then one, then none, the sequence wrong. Our cameraman adjusted focus and found bark instead of fur. The deer was gone, leaving only the feeling of being appraised. We mapped the complex in chalk, but our lines refused to stay still, crossing themselves in impossible ways when we looked back. The plan formed a knot the brain flips to avoid, like a word you cannot read without blinking. We tried to laugh it off, felt our cheeks moving independently. The forest did not like laughter, it refiled it as wind. Then the floor tilted under us, not the earth, but the idea of down, yawing like a ship when the sea is a rumor. Our ankles remembered an angle that never arrived. A fern slid uphill, rattling spores that tanged like burnt sugar. I said we should turn around, the echo said we already had. We found a courtyard ringed by low teeth of stone, each capped with lichen that pulsed as if remembering sunlight we could not see. In its center, a circle of ash that did not smear, as though painted by frost that would not melt. Footprints circled counterclockwise and then evaporated mid-arc. Our prints joined them, without asking us first. Our batteries died in sequence, not by charge but by beat, each successively extorting a minute of black screen for a second of image. In the dark between frames, the doorway multiplied like a trick of cheap software. Only this was no post. We were still holding the lens was holding its breath. A ladder lodged against nothing rose into cedar branches, wrung slick with resin and years. Moss grew upside down on its underside, defying drips that never arrived. Someone had carved tally marks into the third rung, fives bundled again and again. We counted with a fingertip until the cuts grew worn, as if number was a kind of friction. We spoke into the recorder, noting times and bearings, and found the time stamps jumping like fish, landing on hours we had not yet lived. Noon became dusk, then morning, then half past a memory none of us shared. Our watches, digital and smug, blinked dignity and then conceded blankness. The forest does not count, it keeps. The smell of wet coin rose from a crack in the stone, metallic and old breath warm, though the crack exhaled cold. I dangled the mic into the fracture and caught a chorus of drips that did not touch water. Beneath, a room without air, made only from pressure, listen to me listen. Curiosity felt like a trespass you pay with time. We heard our own previous footsteps approach behind us, paced exactly to our pulse, heel and toe matching relief prints we had pointedly stepped around minutes before. When we turned, the spaces between trunks repeated like a hallway mirrored unfairly long. A crow fell silent mid-caw, as if embarrassed. Silence then became a liquid trying to fill our mouths. On the northern edge, we found a plinth with a groove that fit no statue, but accepted my arm with unearned intimacy, up to the elbow. Skin crawled and then smoothed, gooseflesh translating into a memory of sunlight on bleachers. I yanked back, expecting blood or tar. My skin came away with letters remembered only by bone. We followed a trickle of water chattering left, left, left again, until left no longer meant anything except the opposite of another error. The stream ran uphill like a rumor, perfect glass taking the new slope as if slope were someone else's problem. A fallen fir lay across it, ring count unreadable, rings rearranged. Age had been edited, politely. Her drone lifted through the hush, prop blades gnawing guilt into the stillness. On the screen, the canopy parted around a geometry that refused the lens, edges veering away from square, then pretending they had always been round. From above, the ruin spelled a word in a language without vowels. Down here, it meant keep going or do not. We bivouacked beside a basalt column that radiated cool like a sermon, sleeping bags pulled closer than trust. Night arrived without twilight, flipping the switch on blue to black so fast our pupils panicked. Fires would not catch, the match heads fizzed like bad recordings. We ate in silence, chewing food that remembered other hands. In the dark, the doorway sang. Not music, not noise, but a pressure-modulated advice that nuzzled the ear canal like a slow insect. It said we had always been on the other side and were testing translation. It asked which of us remembered the exchange rate for choices. I covered the mic, as if that mattered. Warning reset the forest into a higher resolution, every bark fissure sharp enough to cut a thought. Our ribbons, sun-faded overnight, now bore mildew patterns like fingerprints not ours. We tried to backtrack. The trail accepted our plan and then rerouted it, kindly, leading us to a view of ourselves 1 hour earlier, framed in branches like a stage set. Painters of ancient churches sometimes left doors that go nowhere, to suggest humility. This door resented humility, demanding belief or surrender, refusing both. We tossed a pebble through and heard it land behind us, inside our own pockets like a prank from a childhood we never had. The camera rolled, the frame remained honest and cruel. We tested story against evidence, scratches, samples, timestamps, all the laundry of rational people afraid to admit fear. The forest listened, patient. A wind started where no space remained for wind to start and moved only the long grasses that had no right to grow here. The grasses spelled something and then respelled it before we learned. At noon that was not noon, fog unspooled across the ground like sleepwalking, high enough to lick the shin, low enough to drown the ankle. Our guide's voicemail arrived in a text as an image of our camp, stamped yesterday. His number was not his number, the call history wore a stranger's clothes. We chose not to call back. One pillar bore a rusted ring the size of a plate, fused into stone like iron had been poured through it, liquid logic frozen mid-argument. I pulled, it did not give. It pulled back, politely at first, then personally, registering my grip as a password I had almost remembered. I let go and pretended it was my idea. We found tiles under the duff, a mosaic so fine it might have been woven, showing a forest that was not this forest, brighter, full of birds with too many feathers. In the center, a black square without pattern drank the light. When I blinked, the birds were gone. The square had my reflection without my face. Clock we did not bring chimed 3 times, the sound shaved thin enough to glide under the ribs. We waited for the 4th and received the 1st instead. The loop tightened, a belt of moments ratcheting one tooth at a time. We were at the end and the beginning, pressed together like 2 pages misprinted. Tried the professional trick, turn off, count to 10, restart, pretend the world will honor your reset like polite software. We powered down radios, cameras, our own jaws, then brought them back to life with theatrical hope. The forest applauded once, then reconsidered the gesture. A line of ants carried nothing to somewhere important. When the rain finally came, it fell in columns, not drops, as if someone upstairs preferred order to chaos. We stood between the curtains and felt nothing, watched water trace grooves on stone that led nowhere. Above us, a clearing shaped like an eye made no light. I understood the phrase under watch as an anatomy. The exit, when it arrived, pretended to be a trail we ourselves had cut, complete with scuffs and a candy wrapper we would never drop. We half ran, half bargained, promising small sacrifices to any jurisdiction that wanted jurisdiction. At the ditch, the alder parted just as before. Our guide waited, older by a week, holding our footprints in his hands. Back on the gravel, the world tasted like pennies and new paint. Our footage captured uninterested sky, faithful trees, and no doorways at all. Only the audio remained wrong, a chorus of repeated breaths and our own voices arriving out of order, confessing plans we did not make. We drove away without speaking. The map labeled the silence conserved. Weeks later, packages arrived without return addresses, each containing stones our lab swore were melted and unmelted at once, crystalline order wrapped around a bruise. Inside the foam, a slip of paper repeated the rule, do not change your mind. The path changes first. At night I hear the 4th chime and answer with the 1st.